Welcome aboard the Athletics Can't Wait Jets podcast, your nonstop shop for all things Jets with Tim McMaster, Zack Rosenblatt, and Marissa Dunn.
Can't wait!
Hey, Jets fans, if you're watching us on YouTube, check out the great sponsors in the description below this video. The emotional swings from week to week for this Jets team, it's nuts. The good news, we're back on a high this week after a 24-20 win in Pittsburgh. Zach Wilson's first career come-from-behind game-winning drive. We are recapping win number 2 today. Thanks for joining us. This is the Can't Wait podcast. Tim McMaster, along with our Athletics Jets reporter, Zack Rosenblatt, and producer, Marissa Dunn. We are going to talk all about Zach, the good, the bad. We'll probably talk more about the good because, hey, it's Monday. We all need to be in a good mood. The undermanned O-line, how it performed, the defense, finally getting to the quarterback, lots of stuff. Initial thoughts I'm going to throw this in. I have an initial thought, but before that, I'm stunned here because you're not wearing a hat.
Oh, man, we were talking before the episode started. Marissa and I are both struggling just from travel-related stuff. Got back this morning, early flight. You know, you work late on a Sunday on this job, and my brain is just mush. So got a little nap in before this, but I'm struggling a little bit. You know, snacking as we podcast, but I'm gonna try and survive.
But it's Victory Monday, so we gotta bring the energy.
Gotta bring the energy, like you said. Yeah. It's all about Zack Rosenblatt. That is
snacking to stay awake. Marissa, you're dragging too. You both had a flight right this morning.
Yes. Yeah. Is it right. The Eagles pod late last night, 4-0 Eagles, and then flew back from Atlanta this morning, but happy to be here with you guys and ready to break down this game. You know, we a lot of important stuff to get to. Obviously, we have to talk about the gritty as well. I want Zach's analysis on that.
I won't be doing it myself. Maybe Connor would have done that back in his day, but I'm not going to try.
So yeah, lots of things to get to today.
Connor would have stepped back and probably knocked over the fish tank.
Yeah, or his computer, and then he would have been like, "I need a new one." And
by the way, Connor was at the game and they won too. That's also an under.
Yes, other shocking. But you're 2-2. This team is 500 with you, Zach. That is good stuff.
Secret sauce.
People are going to start taking notice of
this. And the Giants are doing well too, Zach. So
I left the Giants and I joined the Jets, so I'm helping both teams in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
I was the bad luck charm for the Giants, and I'm the good luck charm for the Jets.
Yes.
All right, let's get into this. So the first thing I want to bring up is just if we were having this, if football games were only 4.5 quarters or 3.5 quarters, if we were having this conversation, wow, what a difference it would be, right? Because this game looked really bad when it was 20-10. Kenny Pickett looking better than Zach Wilson. 8 of 24 with 2 picks for Zach at that point. It was just all bad. And then those last 2 drives came and happened and changed the complete narrative for Zach Wilson for this game. And who knows, maybe we look back on it and we're like, okay, this season kind of turned in the second half of the fourth quarter of that Steelers game. It's crazy how it changed, how bad it was, and how good we all feel right now.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just look at it the season as a whole, they've really won 2 games. They've really won 2 quarters this season is essentially what it comes. I mean, that's an oversimplification of it, but yeah, the fourth quarter against the Browns and the fourth quarter against they play the Steelers. The Steelers last is who they played yesterday, in case you forgot.
It's all coming back.
But yeah, Zach Wilson, he looked pretty bad for a stretch there. Like he looked good in his first couple drives. He led that scoring drive which we're going to get into that play, obviously, with the Philly special-esque touchdown from Braxton Berrios. That was a really good drive. He was really efficient, quick. And then the next 2 quarters, like 2.5 quarters, you saw kind of the Zach Wilson that struggled a lot last year. He was getting pressured a lot, so it wasn't all his fault, like to an insane degree, and he saved the team in a lot of ways with that. And so he was struggling. He threw a couple bad picks. He was pretty inaccurate and missed some opportunities. Then you come into the fourth quarter, and he just, there's no reason to expect that he's going to go and bring them back the way he did. Like there was no basis for expecting that. And then he goes out and he's 10 of 12. He has like 140 passer rating in the fourth quarter, 5 for 5 on the final drive. He had that great throw to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson like look at if you rewatch that play, like at the start of that play, there's there's a safety on him and there's a corner on him, and Zack is patient. He kind of makes Minkah Fitzpatrick think he's going to go in the other direction, and then he hits Garrett, and Garrett does the rest of the work after the catch. He was great. He had great connection with Corey Davis on the previous drive. They overcame a lot of mistakes that this team would normally make. On that Corey Davis drive, they get all the way to the 1 yard line. They get a penalty, move back 5 yards, get another penalty, move back 5 yards. All of a sudden, they're at the 10. You like the Jets of old, the same old Jets. They would have turned the ball over there, or they would have had to settle for a field goal or something like that. But they didn't, and Corey Davis scored a 1 yard touchdown. And then on the next drive, I believe it was, maybe I'm confusing the drives, but there was a play. Like the time management was really good because there was a play where Zack completed a pass to Corey Davis, and it looked like maybe it wasn't a complete pass, and they rushed to the line, got the next play off, and like that was just really heady play calling and smart play from Zack. So yeah, he really, really impressed me. And like you said, you really wonder if this is going to be like a jumping off point, because for his, as bad as maybe he was in the second and third quarter, he really looked like an absolute gamer in that fourth quarter. And if they're like we've said, this team is talented enough to be competitive against most teams. It's whether they can close it out or whether they can keep it competitive in the fourth quarter. And if Zach Wilson can play like that, where he's making smart decisions and he's efficient with the ball, and as we talked about ad nauseum when Joe Flacco was a quarterback, he can get away from pressure like Joe can't. Like Joe would have been sacked 10 times yesterday. Zach was sacked once. So that's it. That's gonna be a huge thing going forward if he can stay healthy. Like that mobility makes a huge difference, especially if he's actually completing his passes.
There was kind of a killer instinct. You mentioned the penalty down on the goal line on not the go-ahead touchdown, but the touchdown that got them close. I totally agree. The moment it happened, I was thinking, okay, they get a field goal here, and then they're going to have to score a touchdown. And somehow they get the touchdown anyway. I couldn't believe that was the first thing where I kind of had an inkling like, okay, this is different. This isn't what we're used to with this Jets team. And then on the go-ahead drive, they get the ball in good field position. And the immediate thought is, all right, they only need to really move it, 20, 25 yards to kick a field goal. Yeah. And I feel like Jets teams of the past they just say, okay, we need to get 25 yards, kick a field goal. And they get 25 yards and miss a field goal and lose the game. But there's this big moment, and it's been everywhere at this point. Zach comes into the huddle and tells everybody, I won't say the exact words, but let's go score a touchdown. Breece Hall told everybody that's what he said after the game. And it's a different mindset. And this team, instead of doing the clear thing, settle for a field goal, go to overtime, either miss the field goal or lose to the Steelers in overtime, they actually go down the field and score the touchdown. And Breece Hall reaches out for the touchdown, which at the time I thought that's scary, but I thought he had done it on initial viewing. I thought it was a touchdown. And then obviously with the replays, you could tell it was, but it's another thing where you think like,
it goes their way.
Past Jets teams, that's a fumble. And like, there was so many moments in this game where it was kind of like, wait, what just happened? Like, and it reminded me, and this is going to sound, I don't even know if it's worth saying, but it reminded me of back in my, previous days as a big sports fan overall, like watching the Red Sox back in 2004 and like all these things. And this is not that, don't get me wrong, but all these things that like
Tim way to bring up 2004, Tim.
Come on. You just
expect
the 2004 Red Sox.
All these things you expect to go wrong, and they went right. And this is game 4 for a team that's 2-2 and probably doesn't have a chance to make the playoffs. But it was just interesting seeing these things, and it was fun to watch.
There was even a part of me that on the Hail Mary that the Steelers had at the very end, I'm like, is he gonna come down with it? like what's is the
right?
Is
yes, totally.
Like
But
and
the Jets didn't knock that one down, which was not the best.
One of the ironies of this game, or maybe that's not the right word, but it was interesting watching a Jets game where fans booed a quarterback off the field. They were begging for a quarterback change, and it was not the New York Jets.
It was the other team.
It was the other team. Like the Steelers are really bad. I think that should be said.
Yes.
Again, I'm not trying to couch anything. The Jets got a good win, and you take any wins you can get when you're the New York Jets, obviously. But 2-2 also look. I mean, I've been saying this. It's cliche, but 2-2 looks a whole lot different than 1-3. Like it's just a huge difference, especially going into this stretch. That's pretty hard coming up. But yeah, I mean, the cliche of same old Jets. Like this is just not. I think the talent is just clearly there. The question with this team is whether they can overcome all these mistakes that they've been making week after week. They made some of them again, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's some bad penalties from veterans. There's a car, and at the end of the first half, the Jets were driving. They were in field goal range. Zach Wilson throws a terrible throw that he should not have forced it into the secondary. He gets picked off. If he had just thrown it away, they wouldn't have settled for a field goal instead. Steelers get the ball, and then Carl Lawson gets a roughing the passer penalty, and so all of a sudden the Steelers get a like 59-yard field goal or whatever it was, and so that's like a 6-point swing because they get a scored 3 instead. The Steelers scored 3. So there's still like mistakes like that happening when they play against better teams. That'll be a problem, but ultimately, like if every win they get is an ugly one, they'll take it.
Yeah, and that momentum actually felt like it went into the third quarter too, where instead of it being 13-3 at the half, it's 10-6, and then the Steelers kind of grabbed hold of this game in that third quarter with Kenny Pickett coming in, and it looked bad. And a lot of that you can kind of pull back to that end of the half and how it ended. That was part of the bad. The interception by Minkah Fitzpatrick was bad. Obviously, it was not all good for Zach. In fact, if you look at the final stats, right, just 50%. I said at one point he was 8 of 24. I mean,
yeah, I was going to say he was 8 of 24 going into the fourth quarter. Yeah.
I mean, not good. And it's something that you need to think about, right? Like going forward, which, are we going to consistently see fourth quarter Zach, or are we going to go back to the other one? But I did want to go through some of the real like standout moments for Zach. We've talked about some of them, obviously, already, leading in the touchdown, but just a few different things. The 4th and 7 throw to Corey Davis was one. And then the 3rd and 6 laser to Garrett Wilson that you mentioned, those were just in a fourth quarter when you're losing big time throws. And the guys made the catches too, but those were big time throws.
Oh, absolutely. The Garrett Wilson one, like you said, like that was another situation where that drive started off really poorly. It like got to 2nd and long, and then Zach scrambled to make it like 3rd and 6, and then he found Garrett on that play, and then that was kind of where you could feel that it was kind of like with the Browns game a couple weeks ago. Like there was a lot of weird, crazy moments in that game, but it just felt like things were starting to turn there, and then they go up the field and they score. It's Zach deserves a lot of credit for what he did. And another, we talk about those bad stats that he had through 3 quarters. I say the fourth quarter is really all that matters because we expected him to be rusty. So the fact that he struggled wasn't a surprise to me. It maybe would have been if the game had ended and those were his numbers and he still was completing passes at that rate, then maybe we're sitting here talking about like, should we be worried about Zach in the future and stuff like that? But the fact that he was able to turn it on, the knee didn't seem to be an issue at all. The rust, he seemed to shake it off. He seemed to shake off what he was struggling with. It was a very encouraging, flip of the switch performance for a quarterback. It's not all quarterbacks. I don't think Sam Darnold could do what Zach Wilson just did in the fourth quarter. Like not everybody can do that. And your confidence and your energy for like a quarterback in those situations where you're trailing like that, it's really infectious on the guys around you. And it seems like his energy really is what kind of carried his receivers. And the offensive line, for as much as they struggled, they played better towards the end, I would say. Breece Hall got that touchdown. You mentioned how like normally that play doesn't go their way. My immediate reaction to it was that I thought he like had fumbled it away and like, oh, he should be thankful that Tyler Conklin jumped on it and tweeted that. Of course, the fans flipped out at me because they're like, it clearly wasn't a fumble, you idiot. It just things went their way, which they just really, especially this season, those 2 losses they had were pretty rough with stuff not going their way. And, Salah got made fun of a little for saying it was bad luck, which was a little ridiculous, but they had some good luck, I would say, this week.
All right. One more thing on Zach, and that is with the, let's go score a touchdown comment, and then actually going down and scoring a touchdown, this team getting a win to go 2-2. So many young guys on this team. It's not like a team laden with veterans. So the question is, does this team now have, like, has he developed a belief where this team now believes in their quarterback, believes in Zach Wilson? Because you can like your quarterback. You can, go to where was it? Idaho? Where did they go in the summer?
Yeah, Idaho. Yeah.
You can go to Idaho and work out with your quarterback and say, we're doing all the right things to build chemistry. And, the coaching staff can say whatever they want to say about Zach. But like, I don't think a team believes in their quarterback, really believes in him until they see him do it in a game. And now they've seen him do it in a game.
Yeah, I think he definitely gained a lot of respect in the locker room for what he did. Because I do think, fan base liked Joe Flacco and they didn't, and they liked him again and then they didn't and all that. But in the brief stretch where they did like him, I think, you could see that like the locker room was rallying around Joe. They just really liked his personality and, how he was a gamer and Joe cool and all that stuff. And I think, we probably even talked about it on the Browns podcast. I can't remember, but like the idea of could Zach have done what Joe just did in that 2-minute drive? Or that last drive where they went down and scored and they had no doubt about it or whatever. Like, could Zach have done that? And he answered that question on Sunday. Like he absolutely did that. He carried the offense. It was because of him that they won at the end, I would say. So yeah, I think he's won a lot of fans in that locker room. I think this is going to be a huge, moment for him, whether they build on it or whether he can build on it and whether, he's going to have to start, Elijah Moore didn't get many targets. Garrett Wilson, I think that's going to be a week-to-week thing. When you have guys that talented, you wonder how they handle not getting all those targets and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. But I'm very encouraged by the way that game ended. I don't expect that to happen every week, obviously. But if he can come out and look a little better at the start of a game, then as the season progresses, I think by the end of the year, you're going to feel a little better about Zach Wilson being your quarterback.
Yeah, maybe feel like you have the guy.
Yeah.
All right, we got a lot more to get to coming off this win over the Steelers after this quick break. With Masterclass, you can learn from the world's best minds anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. You can learn how to cook from Gordon Ramsay or Wolfgang Puck. Learn filmmaking from Oscar-winning director James Cameron. Even learn how to train your dog from Brandon McMillan. With over 150 classes from a range of world-class instructors, that thing you've always wanted to do, it's closer than you think. You know what? I have no style. You can ask my wife. But Masterclass can help with that. Learn fashion for everyone from Queer Eye host Tan France. Masterclass is accessible on your phone, web, or smart TV. Each class is broken out into individual video lessons, usually around 10 minutes long. Members can explore at their own pace, and each class is supported by downloadable materials, class guides, recipes, or more. You can find all available classes at masterclass.com. I highly recommend you check it out. Get unlimited access to every class, and as a Can't Wait listener, you get 15% off an annual membership. Go to masterclass.com/firstdown now. That's masterclass.com/firstdown for 15% off Masterclass. Reserve Bar is your online source for premium and luxury spirits, wine, and champagne. And now Reserve Bar offers, ready? Same-day delivery. Reserve Bar has a vast lineup of rare and hard-to-find bottles, premium brands, celebrity spirits, and limited releases that you just won't find at your local store. No one does spirits gifting better than Reserve Bar. Looking for an elevated gift? ReserveBar.com has you covered, and you can have that gift delivered right to their door. Even better, turn that spirits gift into a cherished memento with custom engraving. That's perfect for birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, Father's Day, you name it. Reserve Bar has a great feature called Cocktail Lounge. This is a treasure trove of cocktail recipes, bartending tips, interviews with master distillers, celebrities, and more. Visit reservebar.com today and use promo code WAIT to save $10 off your purchase of $75 or more on spirits, wine, or pre-made cocktails, but only when you use our special offer at reservebar.com with code WAIT. That's reservebar.com and code WAIT. This offer expires December 31st, 2022. All right, let's talk about the offensive line, which, man, if anybody should be a fan of Zach Wilson, it should be this offensive line this morning. There was the one play where he ended up scrambling left, buying time, and then kind of like jumping in the air and heaving the ball out of bounds over his head. It was like,
it was wild.
Not what you want your quarterback to look like when he's throwing the ball away, but it got the job done. It wasn't a sack. So, but
yeah, he only got sacked once, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, 22 pressures, right? But one sack. Let's start with Max Mitchell, and then we'll get into the moving guys around and all of that. But good news today for Max Mitchell, because I know in your story, Zach, you wrote that after the game he was on crutches, had a cast on the leg, and that the immediate thought is, all right, well, that's it for Max Mitchell this season. But the news today is that it's not season ending. I imagine he's going to be out for a while. But for a rookie who had looked so good for a rookie, it's great to know that he's going to be able to continue to build on that in this rookie season.
Yeah. It's, I think Marissa referenced a tweet she saw about the Jets offensive line before.
It's like the most dangerous job in the world, right?
Yeah.
Left tackle, the tackle
Left tackle.
position.
Tackle
Yeah.
position specifically. Yeah, I was thinking it's like that scene in Space Jam where they're all just like injured on the bench. They're all like wearing casts and stuff. But so the offensive line, Elijah Vera Tucker had to move to left tackle.
Yeah.
Had to. It was a surprise thing that like nobody was teased that. They didn't leak that to anybody. It was a secret. And I always, in the back of my head, always like, it makes sense because he's probably their best option. And then you move Nate Herbig to guard. But so you do that and you're like, okay, now we have our best 5 offensive linemen out there until Dwayne Brown or George Frank gets back. We have Max Mitchell at right tackle. We don't have to play Connor McDermott, which I know fans were dreading. And then Max Mitchell gets hurt. I thought it was going to be more serious. So now Connor McDermott is their only option at right tackle. Eventually, Dwayne Brown will come back. I don't anticipate it being this week. At the very least, he'd have to practice a bunch first because he's been out a while now. Fant still has a few weeks before he's even eligible to come back. So you have Connor McDermott right tackle, or you have one of those guys they signed last week, Cedric Ogbuehi. I don't know if that's right, and Mike Remmers. So I imagine those guys at some point are going to have to play. That's just based on how this thing has gone.
Yeah,
but I've never seen a team get be this snake bitten this early at one position. Like I'm going to keep saying that because it's just crazy. And the offensive line really struggled. Yeah,
go ahead. No, go.
Yeah, I would say the offensive line really struggled, and Zach kind of like was able to hide a lot of that. I tweeted a stat a little before the podcast. I saw his time to throw was like 3.3 seconds, which is really, really like a lot. And it sounds, in theory, that usually that stat is meant to like see how the offensive line did. So was he able to get the ball out of his hands quick, or did he have some time to, see everything that was going on? But that number is really high because he had to scramble for his life almost every play, it seemed like. So you're seeing that, like we talked about it forever. Like I said, it was all theoretical, but Zach having that mobility is just such a difference from Joe Flacco. So especially as this offensive line is going to be going through all these different iterations, at some point Dwayne Brown's going to play. It's going to be Zach's first snaps with him. It's going to be their first snaps with this alignment. Elijah Vera Tucker is probably going to play left tackle until Brown can come back, and then he's going to go back to right guard. Like, that's not easy. I mean, it's crazy that he even played well at left tackle. Just moving as much as he has in his career already is just kind of wild for an offensive lineman. The offensive line's a concern, but you're maybe slightly less concerned about it than you would be if you had a slow quarterback back there.
I mean, Connor McDermott, the consensus, I think, was, oh, man, this is going to be bad. Was he better than we expected?
Yeah, I would say so. He had like a couple penalties that were rough, but
yeah.
I mean, the stats aren't perfect, like with who gets dinged for pressures and stuff like that, but I don't think he was dinged with like a pressure. So that's positive. The expectations are so low for guys like that. And this group right now, the expectations I feel like are low. So anything you can get where you're giving Zach some time. I think the run blocking was an issue. The running game didn't really get going in this game, and that's all 5 guys. That's not just one. So they need to get that fixed because this is going to be a run heavy team with Zach Wilson, I think, at quarterback. So, but yeah, so Connor McDermott at right tackle, he's a veteran. The coaching staff says they trust him, though they didn't play him. They didn't initially intend to play him. So I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a very week to week thing with this offensive line, and you do not want to have that with an offensive line. I mean, like Marissa does the Eagles podcast. Like the Eagles have had like the same offensive lineman, and they're good at they're so deep on the offensive line they can just plug a guy in and they're not even worried about it. Whereas the Jets are losing their guys are dropping like flies. None of these guys have played together a significant amount of time. It's just like really. It's not ideal. And if there's every week, it's going to be a weakness that the other team's looking to exploit. It's why like a guy like CJ Uzomah has become purely a blocking tight end. I think he has 1 catch. They're paying him a lot of money, and that's a lot to just be like a blocking tight end. So it's unfortunate, but that's kind of like where they're at right now because all these injuries. Maybe we're going to look back at this after the bye week. Everybody's back. Everybody's healthy. They have all of a sudden had depth. They can't yell at Joe Douglas anymore.
The schedule gets easier at that
schedule
point.
gets easier. Like, so maybe it's everybody getting this experience is going to be great for later in the season, but right now they're going to take their lumps. Zach's going to get hit a lot. You hope he gets up and is fine, but it's definitely going to be a concern, I'd say, for the next few weeks.
You mentioned the run blocking. It was 98 yards on 29 carries, and that is big because you talk about Zach, and like the last thing you want is teams to be able to not worry about that running game and just focus on Zach. And then, it just limits what he's going to be able to do. He did take, I know he was only sacked once in the 22 pressures. He did take some hits, on some scrambles when he got hit, and maybe a little more than you want to see, especially in his first game back. Although on the other hand, we said, how is he going to handle taking a hit? And he seemed to pop up and he handled it pretty well. But man, this offensive line, right? This is, the story of the season, the most important thing we're all focused on is Zach Wilson and his progression. But like the offensive line and its ability to do something has become like maybe the key to this team's success as much as Zach, it feels like, because of the injuries, because it's not what we thought it would be.
And even think about it like this. He played as well as he did in that fourth quarter while getting pressure. Like, imagine if he have an offensive line that actually gives him time to process what's in front of him. Like, so we might not see that this season, honestly. So maybe this will be a good test for him. So he gets used to this. And then when he actually has some time down the line, he'll be even better for it. But I would say offensive line, we had coming out of last week, a lot of the biggest concerns in addition to offensive line were like defensive stuff. I'm sure we'll get in the defense in a bit. But I would say the biggest concern I have now, especially now that we know Zach is healthy, is that offensive line.
All right, you teed it up. The defense is next. A lot of ways to go here. A lot of kind of unsung heroes, people stepping up. But let's start with the pass rush and Bryce Huff, who played. Bryce Huff played, everyone. Denzel Mims wasn't on the roster, but Bryce Huff played and played well. What does that mean, do you think, going forward? Because he basically, I don't think this was a surprise, right? I think what Bryce Huff showed on Sunday is what most people kind of expect from him at this point. He's a guy that's impressed in the summer and just wasn't able to make the active roster until Sunday.
Yeah, when I tweeted the inactives yesterday, everybody reacted like very like, finally, yes. I'm like the way everybody's reacting, like he better get at least like 4 sacks or something. Like that's my expectation at this point.
Well, because it was like contradicting to why the Steelers run the ball. So like all the season long.
Clearly there was something going on there. I don't really know what it is.
Right.
Maybe they just
he's out of the doghouse, I guess. If there's something
whatever happened, right? Or maybe they just like the guys ahead of him better, like whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think he's earned a playing. He only played 9 snaps. I think they were all pass rushing snaps. He had 3 pressures. It just looked like there's 2 sacks when he was out there, and he was right by the quarterback too. Like that's the impact he makes. Like maybe he's not going to play on running down, so fans might not like his snap counts every week. But if he's just coming in as a pass rusher and he's effective, like I absolutely think he's earned a role. He's a very intriguing player. He's young. He's a guy that they've developed pretty well. So I'm curious to see how his role is going forward, because I think clearly he's more impactful than guys like Jacob Martin. Even Michael Clemens hasn't really stood out as much. Like when he plays defense, he had a big hit on special teams. Actually, Jermaine Johnson had another sack yesterday. Carl Lawson had a sack. Quinnen Williams was dominant. D-line was really good, but I think Huff just being out there, just if you can have a guy out there who the other offensive line either doesn't know about and he can make some pressure, or they have to consider him and they have to pull somebody away from Quinnen or something like that. Like it's a really good benefit to have. So I'm curious to see what this does for his role going forward. I imagine he's going to have something similar like that, where he's playing, 10 to 15 to 20 snaps each week, and maybe see a little bit less of a guy like Jacob Martin. But he did exactly what he had been doing all of camp and in the preseason and stuff like that. And the defensive line playing that well was huge, because they just haven't done that in the last couple of weeks. They were finally getting home on the quarterback. It was Mitchell Trubisky, who was pretty terrible in the first half. And then it was
all 3 sacks were in the first half, right?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, exactly. The pressure kind of calmed down a little in the second half, I would say. Kenny Pickett, they were pressuring him a little bit, but he's also a rookie in his very first snaps. Next week, we don't really know if it's going to be Tua or Teddy Bridgewater.
We actually just found out.
Breaking news.
Yes.
Oh, really?
I'll sound the alarm. According to, I think Mike McDaniel is giving his press conference right now, announces that Tua Tagovailoa will be out this week against the Jets.
They couldn't. There was no scenario where they could play, even if he was completely cleared and healthy. You can't play
even
him.
if he was 110%.
So it'll be former Jet Teddy Bridgewater. Former
he can
every
move team in the NFL. Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, right. Teddy's like he can move. I wouldn't say he's like a mobile quarterback. Like you're not worried about him scrambling like Zach Wilson. So he's more of a pocket guy. So you hope that. They're gonna have to. We're gonna get the matchup later this week. They have a lot of weapons on that team, so you're really gonna have to get home on pressure. So the D-line can keep building on what they just did. Again, the Dolphins are gonna throw the ball a lot, so maybe you see more Bryce Huff this week. I don't know. But yeah, so the D-line was a really positive from that game, I would say.
They focused on it on TV at one point. I think it was in the second half, maybe even the fourth quarter. There was a play where Quinnen was all the way at the sideline, chasing Pickett out of bounds, basically, and they focused on it and said, "Well, how many guys that play that position would even try to get to that point?" And all I could think of was the comments last week from Ulbrich and like him being exhausted. It all came back to me because I'm like, it's the second half and Quinnen is chasing the quarterback out of bounds at the sideline. Like
the quarterback was grasping for air after he chased him out of bounds. Yeah.
All right. So from defensive line and some redemption there, obviously, to the safety position and some redemption because LaMarcus Joyner, 2 interceptions in this game after a bad week in week 3 against the Bengals, but he set the tone, so to speak, early in this game on some deep throws from Trubisky, where the interception, but also a breakup, and he looked
had 4 breakups too. Yeah,
there was the one near the end zone, right? That was Joyner too, like early in the game. That made a huge difference. If that's a touchdown, who knows what happens in the game?
Yeah, the safeties were the biggest weakness on the roster before this week. Like Joyner and Whitehead have both been terrible, and they both were pretty good. They did their job. There was none of those miscommunication we've been talking about. I think his second interception was he the one who got the Hail Mary pick? I can't remember. There was 4 interceptions. Maybe Whitehead got that one. But he got one that was kind of like just a really bad throw. But anyway, it doesn't matter. He made plays and he didn't get beat. I think the linebackers had a little more trouble with like the tight ends and stuff like that, which would be something going forward. I think CJ Mosley, I think, has pretty clearly lost a step. And Quan Alexander got exposed a little bit as he played more snaps because Quincy Williams is out. But they only need Joyner and White. They don't need them to be stars. They need them to be, just capable of doing their jobs kind of guys because they have absolute studs at corner. Haas was a shutdown guy again. DJ Reed played pretty well again. They have legit 2 number 1 caliber cornerbacks, and they're going to need them with some of these teams coming up. Those safeties can't be making mistakes in the middle of the field and stuff like that, or they're going to get killed like they did in these losses and even against the Browns when Brissett was kind of tearing them up for a while. So Joyner, I think Pro Football Focus had him with like a 90 overall grade or something like that. It's like his best in like 5 years. He doesn't need to be a 90 guy every week, but like I said, if he's playing well like that, this defense has a really high ceiling in my opinion because I think the talent. I've said the talent I think is there. That was just a really big hole on the defense, and if it's filled with at least even one quality player between those two, that'd be a really big positive.
Yeah, you made a good point about the linebackers. Freiermuth was open all day, like all day long. They couldn't always get him the ball, but he ended up with 7 catches for 85 yards. I predicted a pick 6 for the Jets in this game. I was wrong, but I will say 2 things.
4 chances too.
4 interceptions, first of all. So, hey, that's something, right? And then secondly, Trubisky didn't play the second half. I feel like if Trubisky had played the second half, we might have had our pick 6, but instead Kenny Pickett came in. Now, one thing on the negative side for the defense, Kenny Pickett looked pretty good for a while. That's I feel like concerning for this defense in that second half when they didn't get to the quarterback. Pickett making not his first start, but his first action in the NFL, and he just kind of looked comfortable. So while the defense did what they needed to do to get the win, obviously the turnovers are big. It's not like it was a flawless performance.
Yeah, for sure. The linebackers, they tend to play only 2 a lot of the time, so they try to make it so those guys can't really lose you as many games. But there's so many teams that have those like freakish tight ends these days, like Freiermuth, who are big and athletic and can go and make things happen. So like Quan got beat a few times, or your team kind of trailing behind Freiermuth. And, the Dolphins have Mike Gesicki. The Broncos don't really have a good tight end. The Packers don't really either. But, there's going to be guys in the middle of the field. There's going to be running backs and things like that. Mosley is good at tackling guys that are in front of him. Like, he doesn't really miss many tackles, I would say. But I don't think he's there athletically like he used to be. So that's going to be, kind of a weak spot that other teams look to expose. But you're more okay with it if the safeties are less of a hole. So you're not like looking at the whole middle of the Jets defense and being like, we can beat them in the middle. Maybe on the outside, we avoid Sauce and we avoid DJ.
All right. Some other notes to get to. We're not done yet, but we do need to take one more break. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Let's face it, we're all on LinkedIn all the time networking, so why not post your jobs there? Then add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/can'twait22. That's linkedin.com/can'twait22. CANTWAIT22 to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Our next partner is a pretty cool product. Let's talk about Athletic Greens. If you're looking to get better gut health, more energy, or a stronger immune system in a really easy, natural way, you've got to check out Athletic Greens. I'm sure you'll all agree that most of us are not huge fans of having to take a bunch of pills or vitamins in the morning, but with Athletic Greens, you can get rid of all those extra vitamin bottles and finally make some room in your cabinet. Athletic Greens is an all-in-one solution that actually tastes good. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. Tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high-quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. AG1 is a small micro habit with big benefits. It's one thing you can do every single day to take care of yourself. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into the flu and cold season. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchases. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NFL22. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NFL22 to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
I'm really excited to talk to you about our sponsor, Liquid Death. You may start noticing there are some strange tall boys of beer in the bottled water section of your local stores. Well, guess what? It's not beer. It's actually mountain spring water from the Alps, and it's called Liquid Death. Why is the water called Liquid Death? Well, because it will brutally murder your thirst, and their infinitely recyclable tallboy cans are helping to bring death to plastic bottles. They also donate 10% of profits from every can sold to help kill plastic pollution. How great is that? I drink so much water a day, and I was so excited to try Liquid Death because a lot of times I drink out of plastic bottles. Not only is Liquid Death amazing water, but it's also so much better for the environment. My favorite is the sparkling in the afternoon, a nice cold sparkling water. So great in the workday. So if you want to try it, which I highly recommend, go get Liquid Death at your local Whole Foods Market, Target, and Stop and Shop stores. Or find a Liquid Death retailer near you with their store locator tool at liquiddeath.com/wait. That's liquiddeath.com/wait.
I feel like we should run the Liquid Death ad at the beginning of the show because I've been drinking them throughout the shows, and I feel like when we run it at the end, people are going to think I'm drinking drinking during the show, which
just water.
I would never
Just
do
water.
that.
It is Victory Monday, so you never know.
Yeah, gotta celebrate.
If this Jets team makes the playoffs, maybe we'll turn in our liquid death for something a little stronger for that podcast. All right, a few more things to get to. One, we didn't really talk much about Breece Hall. We talked about how he's the one who kind of said what Zach said in the huddle there in that last drive, but he has shown these moments. I just want to see more of it, like a game that he just dominates, and we're like, that was the Breece Hall game. Yeah. But the go-ahead touchdown, obviously huge. The fact that he didn't fumble, some big plays beyond that. The one thing that stands out that could have been was the Zach rollout to the right side. That was the first half, and Breece was wide open, and Zach leaves it short. He has to come back for it. It's incomplete, but that would have been a long touchdown, and that's what I think we're going to be able to see from this guy is these game-breaking plays.
Yeah, it feels like he's really close to getting that breakaway one. He hasn't had it quite yet. He had a couple big runs. He had like a 16-yard run on one of the scoring drives. That was pretty huge. I think he actually got them to the 1 yard line. Yeah, the talent is clearly there. I think the big point they had for him after the first couple of weeks, the coaching staff was telling him they wanted him to go more north-south and less like shuffling back and forth. I think you've started to see him do that. It seems like he's been getting way more of the touches than Michael Carter, so I think they're kind of maybe quicker than I expected turn to Breece as their number one running back. Michael hasn't really been as effective the last couple of weeks, though they do trust him more as like in protection and stuff. But yeah, I think Breece, he also has like this little like confidence swagger to him that I didn't really expect when you talk to him. Like he feels like he's going to break out any moment now. So I don't know how the Dolphins' run defense is. I haven't really looked into them yet. You hope that it starts happening this week because if they can control the clock and keep those Dolphins up and off the field, that would be huge. And I think Breece will be a big part of that.
All right. And Zach's chemistry with the receivers, we saw it building with Conklin in the summer, and that was clear on Sunday. He found Conklin and some good. Conklin didn't always make the play, but there was a connection there. And Zach has always liked Davis going back to last year.
Yeah.
But what we need Zach to do is have chemistry with Garrett Wilson. That wasn't there. They had the couple big plays, obviously, and Wilson ended up, the numbers weren't terrible, but the targets, they just have to be higher, right? If this offense is going to be what it's capable of being, it feels like Garrett needs to be the guy, and Elijah Moore too. Like those two guys need to be more involved with Zach, and we would already be there if Zach hadn't missed all this time. But it's certainly something that I noticed watching this game was like, where's Garrett?
Yeah, I definitely think that's something that, like I said, we're going to go week to week where one of these guys is not going to get that many. Like they have an embarrassment of riches weirdly, like as weapons.
I guess it's the trade-off, right? When you have these weapons is suddenly like you wish they could all get the ball.
You might see a different guy being the high hand, but Garrett in particular, I fully believe they need to have him involved as much as possible every week. I think he only had like 2 or 3 targets or something like that, or 2 catches at least. And one was in the beginning, and the other was that huge run in the fourth where you kind of saw what Garrett can do, and you give him the ball. He made a few guys miss. So that's going to be something that they need to build the chemistry on the fly. Elijah still is just not getting the targets that, I think that he wants, that the team wants to get him. He got 3 early in the game, or 4 early in the game. He had 3 catches for like 50-something yards, and then he never got targeted again after the second quarter, I believe. So I don't think his numbers reflect how Elijah Moore's been playing, because I think he's been getting open a lot and not been getting found. And some of that this last game was Zach had to run for his life and just kind of find whatever he could. So I'm curious to see how that plays out going forward. Like I said, they're not going to be able to get all of these guys every week. Clearly, he has a connection with Corey Davis, and he likes his big body and the way Corey Davis is more of a possession receiver and stuff like that. But you need to get Garrett Wilson in particular involved. Get him the ball, let him do what he can after the catch. Maybe that's a way you can avoid the pressure as you throw it to him quickly or something like that. But yeah, I am curious to see how his chemistry builds with a guy like Garrett going forward.
All right, and one more thing. Boy Green came on and did the picks on Friday and goes 3-0. He nailed it. We'll have a full recap of the picks because
I think I struggled.
We have one game coming up tonight. Obviously, he didn't pick the Monday night game, but 3-0. So the listeners are now 6-6 on the season. Wow. The listeners not named Connor Hughes are 6-3 on the season. So we have our work cut out for us, the three of us, because it has not gone as well. But congratulations to Boy Green. Hopefully his prediction that the Jets are going to go 9-8 will also come true. 2-2 feels good. Any last thoughts, Marissa or Zach?
I mean, I think we have one. Zach, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I believe there was a comment in here about our buddy Chris Strevler. Where is it? It was pretty funny. Chris Murphy. He said Strevler put on Zach Wilson's jersey for the last 2 drives. So I just wanted to give him a shout out for that, because that was a great comment, and it's probably accurate. I don't know.
It sounds like, you know what, the quote, let's go score a bleeping touchdown. That sounds like something.
Chris. Yeah, there's another funny comment, and there's another funny comment I saw in here where somebody said, "When did Zach start cursing?"
Interesting.
So maybe,
exactly. Yes.
Has anyone seen Chris and Zach together? I don't know.
Interesting. All things we need to find out and get to the bottom of. That's why we have you, Zach, to do the digging as our Jets beat writer. All right. You can join The Athletic for $1 a month for up to 6 months to find out more about Chris Strevler and this Jets team from Zach. Go to theathletic.com/can't wait. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Can't Wait podcast. The New York Jets 2-2 Dolphins week coming up this week, an exciting game Sunday. We'll preview that one later this week. Thanks to everybody for tuning in.